Alright, how's it going, everybody? Another vlog, another shoot. Today, I'm gonna be trying something different. This is, as you may know, if you're a film photographer, you know how expensive this camera is. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you probably have it in your wish list on eBay somewhere, but you're just not ready to spend $2,000 or even $3,000. I did not buy this, actually. Shout out to C41 Film Lab. It's a film lab in Toronto. Not only you can drop off and get your films developed there and scanned, and you can also buy films there, but they do offer rentals for the Contax G2. Actually, another film camera that I know that they have is the Mamiya RZ or RB67. I'm not sure, but it's the Mamiya. But yeah, I'm renting this one from C41 Film Labs just to see if this camera is worth it or not. Then also, I'm gonna be using the Kodak Gold 200 as a test roll. Well, the lens that I have right now is the Carl Zeiss 45mm f2, and I'm just gonna be shooting at f2 the whole time. Continuous autofocus. The shutter speed is also gonna be set at auto, so I'm pretty much just gonna be shooting this camera at auto for the whole time. Also, we are currently in Scarborough Bluffs right now, one of my favorite shooting locations in Toronto. I'm joined today with Laura. How you doing, Laura? She actually has a YouTube channel, guys, if you didn't know. I'm gonna link her YouTube channel down in the description below.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm super excited to shoot today. It's beautiful out here, and we're gonna have a great evening.
Yeah, and she just got signed in with a modeling agency, Icon Models in Toronto. So I'm also gonna help Laura get her portfolio going with this camera.
Yep, he's the best, so I'm super excited.
Well, let's just stay humble for now. I'm gonna keep it humble.
Totally, of course.
Quiet shutter. Actually, I don't want to waste a roll, but just so you guys want to hear. That's cool. It's quieter than my Nikons. Oh, so as somebody who's been shooting on a Nikon film camera, the only thing different about this one is that it's a rangefinder. So when I'm looking through the viewfinder, I'm actually looking through here. I'm not looking through the lens, so that's like one thing that I have to keep in mind. So I'm not sure if I have to like slightly shift my composition to the left a little bit. Oh no, we'll see how the results come out. So another thing about the Contax G2 is that it doesn't come with a pop-up flash, but it does have a hot shoe mount, so you can mount any flash that you like. So I actually did mount my Nikon flash. This is how it looks. It does work actually, but not the TTL feature. TTL is basically through the lens, but that's not compatible with these two together. So it does work if I use the flash manually. All right, you know what time it is.
Oh God. Freezing.
By the way, we're in Canada. It is literally October right now, actually. So
yeah,
it's
October 1st.
like starting. It's like the start of fall, and it's cold. And I'm spraying her with cold water. That's the price of living in Canada.
It's the name of the game. You do what you gotta do.
Guys, I've been shooting at ISO 400 this whole time while I'm using Gold 200. So I'm gonna set it to ISO 200 because I'm using Gold 200. I'm not sure if that's gonna make any difference because at the end of the day, it also comes down to the developer, whoever's developing your film. Most of the underexposing and overexposing happens at the film lab. Oh no, we'll see. I think it should be fine. I'm gonna use the flash manually. I'm using a fixed focal length. I set my flash at 50mm, even though the lens is 45mm. And I set it at f2 aperture because I'm shooting at f2 aperture. I guess all I gotta worry now is the distance between the subject and myself, so I guess I'll just play around with that. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully the photos come out perfectly fine. Alright, so here are my first impressions with the Contax G2. To be honest with you, and some of you may get triggered from what I'm about to say, Contax G2 is just a camera. And if that triggers you, then I don't know, man, it's a you problem. Yes, I admit it's a very, very sexy looking camera. You know, it can be a fashion statement. But if you're the person who cares more about actually taking pictures rather than just using a camera as a fashion statement, then I feel like it's not worth spending $1,500 or $2,000 for this camera. I feel like you can get a way cheaper camera that produces just as good of a result, or if not better. Anyways, I'm just gonna get to the point. I'm gonna talk about the pros and cons of shooting with this camera based on my first time using it, based on the shoot that I did with Laura. But I'll start with the pros first. So number one, I love how compact it is. That's the one thing I like about the Contax G2 or any rangefinder, is that they're smaller than a typical SLR, even with a lens attached, hence why it makes it easier to carry around and put it in a small bag. Number two, one of the pros about this camera is that the lenses are sharp. The lenses that are available for this camera are sharp. I believe they're from Carl Zeiss, correct me if I'm wrong. Also, the G2 is an interchangeable camera, so you can switch to different lenses. The one that I used was a 45mm, as I mentioned in the video. I believe there's like a 35mm, 28mm, and I think there's a 90mm. I'm not sure. Google it. There's like different lenses available for the Contax G2, and every single one of those lenses are really sharp and are built with really good quality. Number three, what I like about this camera is that it has automatic features, which is what I like when it comes to, you know, having a camera. Now obviously it does give you an option to do things manually, but for me personally, the way I work, the way I shoot, I like things automatic. So this camera has autofocus, it has auto exposure, so you don't have to worry about pulling out a light meter to determine the right or the correct exposure of an image. The built-in metering system in the Contax G2 does a pretty good job at metering your photo anyways, especially paired with, you know, all these good lenses. You don't have to worry. It makes this camera a really, I guess, reliable camera for fast-paced shooting. Number four, what I like about this camera is that it is quiet. Obviously, because it's a rangefinder, it doesn't have a mirror like an SLR camera does. For example, with an SLR camera, when you take a shot, the mirror goes up and down, which makes an SLR camera louder than a rangefinder camera. So this camera is good if you want to keep things discreet or stealthy, or like, you know, if you're a street photographer kind of person and you don't want people giving you attention, then I guess this is a good camera if you want something quiet. I mean, I guess I could say the same with any other rangefinder cameras, but yeah, that's what I like about the Contax G2, is that it's quiet. And lastly, number five, what I like about this camera is that it actually works with other flash. As you've seen in the video, I did not have the Contax flash that is supposed to, you know, be paired with this camera, but I did have my Nikon flash, and that flash actually worked. Obviously, if you're using an off-brand flash for, you know, this camera, you're gonna have to do things manually. You're gonna have to match the settings of the flash to the settings of your camera, but it does work, so I would consider that as a pro for this camera. So moving on to the cons, I only have two cons for this part. Now, the number one obvious con is the price itself. I just personally feel like spending $1,500 to $2,000 on a little film camera these days is not really that worth it. Unless you're like a doctor or a lawyer and you have a I don't give a fuck money, then by all means go for it, or even go ahead and buy yourself a Leica M6, whatever. You do you, boo. If this camera breaks, I hear that it's really hard to repair a Contax camera because there's not a lot of parts out there to, you know, fix a camera, and also because it is a rare camera. Hence why, you know, it's like, if I spend $1,500 or $2,000 on this camera and then it breaks, if I end up being careless, then I don't want my bank account, I don't want my wallet to be crying, you know. It's not a good feeling. If you're looking for like a small compact point and shoot, or even a rangefinder film cameras, there's a lot out there that only cost a few $100s, or even like something that's probably less than $70, like a Nikon L35 AF. I mean, that's not a rangefinder, but it's a point and shoot film camera. You know, if you're looking for a compact film camera, I personally recommend a Nikon L35. It's got 35mm focal length, and it's got an f2.8 aperture, and it has a built-in flash, so that's a win. And it's only like a few $100s, or if not, you can probably find a camera like that for just less than $100. So what I have with me over here is an L35, but this is an AW. This is the waterproof version. Unfortunately, I broke this because the water leaked into the battery compartment when I was in St. Martin. But yeah, this camera has a 35mm focal length and an f2.8 aperture, and it produces amazing photos, and I only got it for $100 used from somebody. But you're probably saying, Patty, the Contax G2 is a premium camera. It's a German brand. Celebrities use this camera. Man, I don't give a f. Now, number two for the cons. I'm gonna talk about the reliability of this camera. For a film camera that costs this much, I've actually missed some of the focus. Like I mentioned in the video, I was using autofocus the entire time, and there were a few shots that I've actually missed focus. It actually really turned me off. Like, I don't think I would want to spend $1,500 to $2,000 on a film camera that you're not gonna be guaranteed to have every shot nailed down. And you're probably saying like, I mean, dude, it's a film camera, it's old technology, it's gonna miss some focus. But I say that's not really true. I mean, I have a Nikon F6, which is, you know, Nikon's last flagship camera, and it nails the focus about 99 if not 95% of the time, you know. Now, but then this can also be my fault, since it's a rangefinder. When I'm looking through the viewfinder, I am not looking through the lens, so maybe my aim was a little bit off. But to be honest with you, I was really close to the model, I was really close to the subject, so I know where the aim should be, but the camera missed a focus. Anyways, that is all I have for the Contax G2. Now, my question to you is, and this question is for people who are not lawyers or doctors, you know, if you're just a normal human being like me, would you buy this camera? Please let me know in the comments below and tell me why would you buy this camera. Other than that, please leave a like on this video so, you know, the algorithm can, you know, show this video to other people who are looking for a Contax G2 or who are curious about the Contax G2. And hit the subscribe button. And see you later. Peace.